Thank you, viewers, for joining us once again for another episode of the Energy Dialogue podcast at Mercury. Is it Mercury? Mercury Hotel. And today we are joined by a very special guest. We are joined by a special guest, Mr. Shafimana, sorry. Shimakeleni, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. As we unpack the latest developments in the Namibia energy sector. Shafimana brings extensive experience in the regulatory compliance, local content policies, and legal advisory in the Namibia oil and gas energy sector. In this episode, the reason perhaps why you think you should stay tuned is we'll explore how companies can navigate compliance, manage risk, and leverage policies to drive sustainable growth. Welcome, Shafi.
Thank you very much.
Shafi is more.
Yeah, Shafi is more that. I mean, I go by the name.
Yeah.
Shafimana is just for all purposes, but
yes,
I go by the name Shafi.
Yeah.
And Shafi will be
exactly.
Yes.
We know you are a very busy man, but just as a precursor, we would like to know what is your overall impression. I know we started. Now we are in day 3. First, we started with a masterclass, and then we came to the technical conference where we're positioning Namibia as the next energy frontier, where they say we should move from exploration to action.
Development.
Yeah, exactly. Where we probably will later on go into those deliverables as to what it means. But what is your take so far?
I mean,
attendance and everything.
Yeah, no, I mean, in terms of attendance, you will know that especially from the emails that we have received regarding the conference, it's been a sellout conference, and it's good that the exhibition has been made free for everyone to attend. So we have seen various school kids, various visitors, people from the press visiting around and just being inquisitive about the industry, showing that there's a willingness to learn and so forth. And then obviously from the masterclass and the strategic conferences as well as the technical conferences, I was privileged enough to be on one of the panel discussions on the local content framework, which I'll obviously delve into as we progress with this interview. But my impression so far, it's quite good because it shows that there is a collaborative approach. If you look at the government stakeholders that have been here, as well as the industry stakeholders, the private sectors, you get oil companies, you get service companies, you get drilling companies, you get state-owned enterprises, you get all other stakeholders that really across the board, media and everything, to ensure that the message that is being delivered here is communicated. And so I'm very impressed in how the conference has been set up, how it has been advertised, and the deliverables that we are getting from here.
Yes. But it's your first attendance, or?
No. I mean, I've been attending since inception. Since its inception. This is my first time on the panel discussion.
Okay.
So I think from its inception, I think it's the 3rd year now, if I'm not mistaken, or the 2nd year.
Yeah, it's the 3rd year.
Yeah, it's the 3rd year. So from day one, the first time
we've been involved.
We exhibited, we provide our profiles, we tell the people what type of services we do, and some people, they will come in and they're like, no, lawyers, you represent drug dealers, and you're like, no, it's not really that type of law that we do.
Exactly.
You can always specialize in various sectors, which I will obviously delve into as we proceed.
No, very good. Talking about services, how do you advise clients on regulatory compliance in Namibia, especially in the oil and gas and energy sector?
Okay, you will know that especially when it comes to what is it? To the petroleum industry as well as the oil and gas. I'm going to refer to it as the oil and gas sector. It's an evolving industry. There are various challenges and so forth. So compliance is more critical than ever. It's not just a matter of you are trying to avoid penalties, but it's also trying to have a competitive edge, building a relationship with the relevant regulators. Because the last thing you want to do is being non-compliant and having to always explain yourself as to why you did not comply, and regulators take that very in a negative way. It seems that you are coming here to do business, but you do not comply with the local law. So it's something that is very, very critical, in which we as a law firm play a critical role in, especially if you consider our clientele base. In summary, our clientele base involves local companies, it involves sole proprietors, anyone who wants to do business, it involves international companies who want to enter into Namibia. And if you consider the legal framework around the petroleum industry, you will know that the permitting and approval processes or the legal framework governing the industry is quite it's quite fragmented. It's all over. It's not like other jurisdictions. When I was in the UK, you will know that UK or Canada, there's a single authority which deals with approval. So you just go there, you tick box all of those. But in terms of Namibia, you have to go to different regulators and ensure that whatever you need to do, whatever operations you need to conduct, those operations comply with specific regulations. And as a just to delve into the first aspect, especially when it comes to establishment, we do advise on setting up in Namibia because there are various requirements in terms of setting up. For example, if it's an entity that intends to do business and they have established a place of business, then there is a requirement in the Company Act that kicks in to say that you are required to establish yourself as an external company. But there are various forms of entities that you can utilize to render services in Namibia or to conduct business operations. So from the get-go, we'll be able to advise you, okay, these are the type of entities. These two are primarily used for these activities. These are the advantages, disadvantages. If your business modus operandi is this way, we propose you go that way. Then we give you also a legal environmental research report where we look at most of the aspects: taxation, foreign exchange matters, immigration, how to bring in experts, affirmative action, how to comply with those specific stuff, and local content. What I always explain to people is that there's a difference between, although it's interrelated, there is a difference between local content and affirmative action, because affirmative action is, in terms of the Affirmative Action Act, it has to do with previously disadvantaged persons. Now, when it comes to local content currently, based on the current legal framework, it has to do with all Namibians. All Namibians try to use services,
as long as you have an ID.
Yes, and all Namibian citizens, as defined in the Constitution. So but the local content policy will obviously go further to describe, for example, if we say Luterates, they will want to define local content for a specific project to mean Namibia, if you are in Luterates and so forth. So just to get back to the aspect of differentiating between the two, local content is provided for in the Petroleum Act as well as the Model Petroleum Agreement, which is a prerequisite agreement to be signed before a license is issued. Then the Affirmative Action Act obviously is in terms of ensuring that previously disadvantaged people are given opportunities. If you are a relevant employer, and there are certain exemptions that apply, but an application has to be submitted to the minister, and we have done those type of applications. So the landscape is quite broad, and you just don't want to come in here and think. I mean, you know everything all over the place. You need people with special skills and experience to advise you, to guide you, and everything, to ensure that, like I said, you avoid penalties and you have the competitive edge, and you build a relationship with the regulators and the stakeholders.
Exactly. Shafi, there are two comments that you made in your panel when I was shortly listening. The first one was like, you said something to the effect of that the local content policy, there's already provision made for it in the Petroleum Act.
Yes.
Although there are still some few steps that needs to be finalized. Sorry, and the second one, maybe just to take two in one, you also said that at some point Namibians kind of failed at the first step.
Yes.
You were talking about BIPA. Is it the company secretary?
The Companies Act and just those beneficial ownership
if I was listening
carefully.
Perhaps maybe if you can just
to clarify it. So on the first aspect, if I just recall correctly, it
the
was
local content
under the Petroleum Act. So Section 14 of the Petroleum Act prescribes that when a license is being issued, it shall be a condition for on the license that the company shall procure and make use of Namibian goods and services, employ people with the appropriate qualifications. And those specific provisions are how can I say, imposed on are included in the Petroleum Agreement, which agreement regulates the relationship between the government, which basically just replicates what's in the Petroleum Act. So those are local content provisions. In a nutshell, they are quite vague and it's qualified. It's in the sense of you must do with Namibians if it's available. You must do with Namibians appropriate qualifications. It doesn't really, give provision to develop these specific ones. Although there's an aspect of training. Like myself, I'm a product of the local. I'm a product of that local content provision because as part of the negotiations between the government and these international companies, there's a requirement on them to always contribute to a fund, which is Petro Fund.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I was checking, they actually have quite nice scholarships.
Exactly.
So law, policy, engineering, and the technical.
Yeah, there's a whole scope. So in 2019, I was lucky enough to apply for a scholarship.
Yeah, and then
with the help of my.
Oh, that's where you went to UK.
To the UK, yes, with the help of my mentor, obviously our managing partner.
Yeah. So, sorry, Shafi, to this. I saw you got a distinction in that.
Yes. I mean, if you look at, at UNA, my average was around 62%, 63%. I had a lower second degree.
Yeah, you were just above average.
Yeah, just above average. Yeah. But when I got now that opportunity, it was, you took it with both hands. Yeah. The environment there is quite conducive. They separate lectures and seminars. Lectures is where you basically are the one listening, you are sitting there. Yeah. And seminars now is where you are talking. I mean, before I went there, I never used to lift up my hand in class to say, I want to answer, but there you became, it became a norm to say that, you speak, because what they do it on purpose is they divide you into groups. Yeah. So for that specific seminar, you are just 6. So it's highly unlikely that you won't answer. I mean, you will be in a lecture hall, so sometimes you can just sit back and you don't want to answer. Yeah. So
and then you can survive the whole year.
You can survive the whole year just
without saying anything.
So going back to the issue, like I said, yes, there are provisions in the local content, in the Petroleum Act as well as the Model Petroleum Agreement. Yeah. And the local content policy seeks now to add more value, to develop it more, to define it more, to include enforcement mechanisms, because those enforcement mechanisms currently at this stage, there are no enforcement mechanisms, because you will see that Section 19 of the Act actually says that I wouldn't want to call it an enforcement mechanism, because it basically says if you do not comply with those conditions. It doesn't explicitly say local content. It just says if you do not comply with the terms and conditions. Those terms and conditions relate to the local content. Then the minister may cancel your license after giving you an opportunity to be heard. But it's a drastic measure to cancel a license of someone who has spent, for example, the first initial exploration period, $50 million US. You want to cancel it. That's all it says. But for other contraventions, for example, providing false information or not acting in terms of the directions of the minister, they expressly state that for this there is an offence and penalty. You'll be liable to a fine of 18,000 and imprisonment of not more than 2 years or both. So that's what we also, when I was on the panel discussion, trying to strive now when we proceed and develop the local content policy, that enforcement mechanisms be put in place, but not blanket enforcement mechanisms. That's where now the issue of we also as Namibians should play our part, because you are also going to give the IOC a chance to just say, look, there's been this non-compliance. Why have you not complied? And then they will come to you and say, no, we couldn't comply because we sourced one of the local partners. We gave them an opportunity. We want to partner with you. As is the norm, we need to conduct due diligence. Please provide us with your documents, or we have appointed Shafi to do the due diligence, and then we proceed to do the due diligence. And the first point of contact is BIPA. You go there, you see, okay, their papers are not in order. The company secretary who registered the company in 2013 as a shelf company sold it off to him to, obviously, because they don't want to. I mean, it's a no. A shelf company
don't want to go through that
whole process.
Just want to fast track.
By the time you go and investigate those documents, it's still the same old person.
The old one.
Yes, but when you sit in the boardroom, you're telling, I'm the managing director, I'm the shareholder.
Which is really not the case.
Which is not the case, And then after that, you'll be like, okay, fine. We understand sometimes with people, the documents might,
exactly.
So let's consider the second step, which in terms of the Companies Act, you are required to keep at your registered address a register of members and directors, showing who the owners are, who the directors are, and so forth. So once you do that, now to try and just go and do a visit and inspect and obviously pay the administrative fees, you are met with resistance and why you want to know about your information and so forth. But if you want to enter the industry, you need to be transparent.
You need to comply.
You need to comply and you need to be transparent. And that's one thing one of the panelists had mentioned. So
Yeah. No, very good, Shafi. I know, a lot of wisdom coming.
No, thank you.
The next question, Shafi, is just what are the key challenges companies face in navigating the Namibia regulatory landscape for oil and gas projects?
For oil and gas projects, like I said, look, you have different regulators, different not stakeholders, different authorities that deals with. So for me, the first challenge, obviously, considering that the government is quite supportive of the industry, the relevant line ministry is quite supportive. They try to support and everything, but you will know that they don't deal with everything. You have to go to, what is it? For example, Home Affairs, you have to go to NAMRA, you have to do whatsoever. So it's just the difficulty of obtaining permits and approvals on time. That's a challenge that you get in most jurisdictions, especially in Southern Africa, if I'm not mistaken. I stand to be corrected on that. So those are the challenges in terms of getting the permits and approvals, because permits and approvals can delay the commencement of a project. And these type of projects, once you start a well, once you have to start drilling a well, maybe the well has to be spudded on this specific date. If you need people to come in, or if you need something, if you need an approval, you can't stop the project to wait for people to come in or to wait for something to be done. The project has to be ongoing. If something happens, it's cost that is incurring on that. So it's those permits and approvals that look like, oh, it's easy to get, or it's what you just. But those are the challenges that we have experienced thus far. But in terms of getting support from the relevant line ministry and the government, there is intention to fast track and develop our resources.
And this is probably one of the platforms where
of course,
where we foster those close collaborations with locally, regionally, and so on. We can see how we can meet each other. Just moving on, you briefly touch on the local content as well, and I think there's something that you mentioned. Correct me if I'm wrong. I listened to so many speakers. But the draft has already been approved.
So what happened is initially there was a local content policy at the initial first conference we attended. So there was a draft, but that draft has not been developed, and I think it's draft 2. It's draft 2. There were reports that I have not really seen the cabinet decision, but there have been reports that the specific local content policy has been approved by cabinet, and there have been some discussions on that. So it's still in a draft version, and if you were able to listen to our managing partner's presentation yesterday, one of the remarks made was that it's important that we finalize the current draft. We make it a final local content policy, and then obviously as we move forward, we prepare regulations now, which regulations obviously have a more effect than policy. A policy is kind of a direction. It tells you in what way we want to go, and a regulation now places those enforcement mechanisms on you, sanctions and all of those type of stuff.
And that also probably instills confidence.
And certainty. Yes, exactly.
That uncertainty is the area where investors don't really want to.
Because this local content policy is still under discussion. Stakeholders might be consulted. There might be a different approach. I mean, although the ministry is the line person, there might be different approaches, suggestions. Some things might be tweaked. So if we come again next year, it's still in the draft format. You might see that some aspects were changed. It's a policy. It's fine. It's normal for a policy to be to undergo stages and as long as stakeholders and communities are consulted, their inputs are very relevant in coming up with a final policy.
Absolutely. But how crucial is it for that policy to be finalized?
It's quite crucial because it's very crucial because I know that there was a comment. I'm not going to say who, but there was a comment that some companies are complying with local content. Some companies are already incorporating what is in the local content policy into into their local content plans and everything. But from our perspective, it's not a matter of some companies. We need all. And how do you get all of the people to comply or to take that approach? You make it into law, and law brings certainty. Law tells you what it is. It gives you that opportunity. We are guided by the principles of natural justice. You just don't impose sanctions or enforcements without hearing the other party. So it's quite crucial for this local content policy to be finalized and for us to get certainty in terms of what the law is. And there might be some, for example, in other jurisdictions, you find that certain sectors will be ring-fenced because, as you note, that Namibia is not, how can I say, we don't have the expertise. We are getting there, we are getting trained.
Well, we have you.
Yes, but it's still the workforce, we need more
to supplement.
So some sectors or some services might be ring-fenced in future. It's not now. Yes, so that's just, basically it.
No, thank you for that one, Shafi. Just as we're wrapping up now, just the outlook on the Namibian regulatory and legal framework space. What is your take, maybe mid, long term, for the next 2 to 5 years? What will be happening in that space?
Look,
what do you expect?
In terms of the space, because you will note that I'm not sure whether the current legal framework, because you in terms of the petroleum legal framework, you have the Petroleum Act 2 of 1991, you have the Model Petroleum Agreement, you have the Petroleum Taxation Act, you have health and safety regulations that are enacted under the Petroleum Act, you have the Petroleum Amendment Act of 1998. So there are a number of different laws. So what currently is happening is that there was a tender, if I'm not mistaken, out for calling on consultants to peer review because it's going under a review process. So obviously it's a bit difficult to determine since we are in that process of peer reviewing the legal framework. That's why these two can be done simultaneously in terms of peer reviewing the legal framework as well as the local contents for them to be in alignment, because you do not want a scenario where the Petroleum Act speaks about something and the local content policy speaks about something. And luckily also, when was it? When I came across a Supreme Court judgment that basically will change the way in how licenses are awarded if comparison is made with the Environmental Management Act. So it's quite. I see some progress as well as some minor changes and so forth. And because as we read about these cases, we obviously communicate it with the stakeholders, we communicate it with the ministry. There's this judgment that came out. Please consider it as you are going through your peer review. And I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, collaborative approach is the way to success. So it's the way to ensure that we add value to the Namibian national capacity to and maximize benefits for Namibians in the petroleum sector.
Shafi, thank you for your wisdom.
No, thank you very
when
much.
We see legal,
no.
That's the growth. Perhaps maybe before we let you go, do you have any final words, anything that are left out that you think is important for the viewer out there?
No, not. I mean, look, for me, it's just. I mean, that's why I always like hammering on that point. It's just that local companies as us, I mean, let's not think that because it's a local content policy advocating for Namibian ownership and use of Namibian companies that we should be like critical in approaching and complying with certain requirements, because there is also a requirement for us to comply with basic stuff. It's not just about beneficial ownership or ensuring that my books are in order. It's also in terms of complying that what are the basic policies that an international company would want me to have in place.
Exactly.
All you need to do is Google the company that you are working. I mean, we all know that. I mean, we all know who are the stakeholders or the companies. You Google what are the policies that they have, you will see, a code of conduct, anti-bribery policy, compliance, FIC. It's simple. You look at that and you try to develop it for your own company and you build your company from a compliance perspective. And once you have ticked that box, then the relationship with engaging all of those industry players becomes very, very open, because they trust and see that, in terms of them doing their due diligence, they won't spend another 3 months because you are already on your own trying to, ensure that there is compliance and so forth. So it's just for us Namibians to also be ready for the opportunities. The local content and the government is trying to facilitate in ensuring that the Namibians benefit, but we must also be ready to to play a role and ensure partnership with the relevant parties are formed, and it's a win-win situation for both parties. Because the compliance, the sanctions that international companies will face from anti-bribery perspective, or we are not saying the fact that your books are not in order it's just that there is room for risky money laundering activities.
So we need to adhere to
and the penalties that they will receive, it's quite high, it's hefty. So we also understand from their perspective why they spend so much time in doing due diligence. So from our side, all I can say is let's also be ready, receptive, and try to comply and ensure that our books are in order.
Perfect. Shafi, it was very educative, and I really enjoyed our discussion as you unpack how Namibians can anticipate changes within the framework and how we can ready ourselves from a regulatory compliance perspective as well. Thank you. Looking forward to our next engagement.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. And you have my details, and we'll always keep in touch.
Thank you. Okay. To our viewers, keep on staying tuned as we bring you more important and expert views and perspectives from our guest here at the third Oil and Gas Conference at the Make-Your Hotel.
Make-Your, yes.
Thank you very much. Keep on subscribing, and see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.